team after that.
Yeah, the Redskins. Hey, Palestinian protests. Sounds reminiscent of 2020. However, they don't even know what the heck they're protesting.
Where are we?
What are we doing? What
Why are we
school?
here?
Why?
What?
All this and more on Self-Evident Podcast. Yeah. Good morning and welcome to the Self-Evident, official Self-Evident, the only Self-Evident podcast you should be listening to.
All others are
with
imposters.
your hosts, Massey and Miguel. Mike.
Hello.
Yeah, he just crossed the border, and it's really wonderful. We're going to do more reporting on that later.
I'm here for Joe Biden.
Joe Biden made me Democrat.
Yeah.
Give me checks.
He gave me money and a plane ride.
Sorry.
Too soon?
I have house, car, everything.
It sucks to be you, middle class.
Sucks to be you, veterans,
Yeah. Citizens.
citizens.
I'm here now. It's mine. It's
Which
all
actually,
mine.
this actually fits well with what we're talking about today.
It
But if
really
you have
does.
not subscribed to anything we are, go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Get yourself not only some cool merch. Look.
Where are we? There
Right
we
there.
are.
Yeah. So we have merch. We have courses,
We do.
Constitution courses, which, guys, look forward to what we're doing. We're actually going to translate these in Spanish. We're working on a couple books. It's really cool. We have some online stuff that we're doing right now. We're working on a middle school course. Actually, it's not even a middle school course. I just think it's a well-rounded family course, I think.
Ooh, that's a good way to.
It's a family
Call
course,
it.
and it's going to be
course.
good. It's on the forgotten founders of history, and that's going to be fun. And it's not just American founders. We're going to go through history of philosophy, people that we just hear about but we don't know about. So it's going to be awesome. Guys, again, theselfevidenttruth.com. If you've not subscribed to our podcast, you can do it on any platform right now, Rumble, BitChute, especially YouTube. Our numbers are going up. Thank you for that. And Facebook as well, which we're not fans of Facebook. We don't really care. But that's why we're on it, because there are people who do care that are on Facebook.
that is
And
their
for
main
that,
way.
we love you. And so, again, we have a lot going on here. We're going to be touring here very soon, probably in another month. We got a couple local events. But right now, we're just building the empire.
We're going after it. So,
Yeah, we're building the we're building the we're building the empire.
Yeah.
Strikes Back.
Yeah, we're
And
striking
I don't
back.
even watch Star Wars. I've never seen.
We're striking back.
Yes, you have.
So
I
there.
watched one.
You watched a couple with.
No, I watched one.
No, you watched a couple with.
No, I think I watched the same one.
No.
I do. I think I watched the same one, and it was boring. So, anywho's,
I thought
guys.
it has a bunch of politics in it. You should like it.
Anywho's. So what's happening out there? Mike and I were talking yesterday, and we're talking about like what we can apply that's constitutional, that is American, that is all that stuff and more. Now, protesting in a nation, having opinions is so important in a free society. We will address it this way. We think that open-ended discussion is important in order to prevent either A, a civil war, or B, any kind of dissension that would create government force over the people. Because what happens is when the people are at discord, someone has to bring the order. Government knows what they're doing right now, by the way. So we don't mind that people have opinions. We don't mind if people want to have those opinions. We love the fact that it's constitutional in this country that you can protest. You can do so peacefully. However, these are going way beyond the bounds. You know, they're not even petitioning government at this point. They're just now stopping people. This is now racial in nature. But it's so funny that that the Jews, the Jewish nation, I should say, being targeted by the Palestinian, Free Palestine protesters and things like that. There was just so much we were talking about. And I thought, well, shoot, man, why don't we just cover it? And he, of course, research nut that he is, did so much here. We got a lot to cover, so we'll get right into it. Protester encampments and mass gatherings are happening at Columbia, Harvard, University of...
Southern California, USC.
I thought that was South Carolina. Sorry.
Who knows? Maybe that is also a USC.
But there are a ton of protests going on. University of Texas at Austin and other places, in which Austin doesn't shock me. It's a liberal hub.
yeah, go figure.
And at USC, there's video of police taking out batons that are going around on formerly known Twitter X. And at Texas, militarized state troopers were moved in to disperse the protesters before they can build encampments. Harvard Yard had protesters quick putting up tents to take over the green. I mean, this is like, and I'll say it. Let me explain. Especially like a Harvard, a institution since the 1600s, is an establishment that was built to produce ministers of the gospel, to train ministers of the gospel. We've gone obviously clear from that. But it is one of these institutions that America is known for. It's a global thing that Harvard Yard, all these other things. And it's these little punk kids that think they own it or something like that. Which, by the way, most of those kids are probably on student loans or some kind of federal grant. And most of those kids have no idea what they have. They're just ungrateful kids. And so they think that they're going to put up all these things. And it's funny. In Michigan about 2 weeks ago, protesters, this was actually in Dearborn, that they were chanting death to America. Remember, these are the Free Palestine protesters. They've been shutting down airport terminals, stopping traffic on major highways, blocking bridges, and targeting military distribution networks of major corporations.
Yeah, they've been attacking like Pratt Whitney, Northrop Grumman. In Minnesota, Amazon was blockaded for several hours while Wells Fargo was vandalized. Let's throw up those slides. Now, what you'll notice is this is not just a, hey, we care about Palestine thing. And you'll notice there's other groups getting involved in all of this. And it's even been mentioned that ACAB was a part of all of this, right?
Yeah.
And what you'll find interesting and kind of funny is there's no black bloc. And I put that later down. But do you notice there's no Antifa black bloc in any of this?
That's right. We created a whole... I think it's because what happens is we kind of go through these cycles, right? They know, especially in the media, they're going to get sick of this. The right's going to be like, we're not even going to pay attention to this. It's kind of like COVID. They kind of died down on the whole thing. And then all of a sudden now vaccines were wrong and we didn't need to shut down the government. It was actually wrong to do. It was actually detrimental to families to do, right? So we're coming out with all this research now. Maybe we were wrong about COVID. It's like we said that. But the media knows. Eventually, actually, James O'Keefe actually exposed it where they were like, he was sitting down with some people that obviously didn't know he was covert and his team. And they were like, look, eventually we were talking about it. COVID's going to die out. Right. Eventually the Antifa stuff, eventually the 1%er stuff, eventually the BLM stuff is going to die down. Yeah. So we need something brand new. And how convenient.
And I put in the notes, I don't remember. Oh, down towards the bottom. Doesn't it seem odd? 4 years ago, almost to a T, we're about a month off, George Floyd riots began.
Just before an election.
Spring before an election. I wonder what's going on here. And
we'll let Harvey Weinstein off, but yet Trump's under indictment without even like any recourse, telling him to shut up. He can't speak.
He can't go to his own Supreme Court hearing.
Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy.
This stuff is insane. And I really believe that the reason you're not seeing the black bloc of Antifa is because they've shifted gears and now they're wearing the Hamas scarves, right? That and if you look into kind of I'm getting ahead of myself. Now this is an election year thing, right? We're all kind of, hey, election year, it's spring before the election, a bunch of chaos is starting to kick up. Oh, it'll die down in a couple of days. No. Now, some people have said, well, a lot of this is going on college campuses, and as soon as college is out for the summer, it's all going to die. No. It'll pick up in another way. It will, because this is fomenting chaos. Now, on slide 3, this pamphlet was spread around with protesting groups back in 2020 showing economic choke points for the nation. Now, mind you, they themselves claim that economic choke points are the target on the April 15th website, A15. So the next slide on that, if you look at that website, the Day of Action website, they're talking about economic choke points. That's why airports, ports, roads, major bridges, that kind of thing. If you're going to protest because you're unhappy with a war halfway across the world, and that's all you care about, you don't care about the economic means of production.
No,
That's not your language.
that's right.
Right? If you're some dude randomly and you're like, I don't like what Israel's doing, I like Palestine, you're not talking about economic choke points.
That's right.
If, however, you have another agenda and Palestinian protests are your vehicle to getting that agenda across,
Right.
somewhere in the realm of Marxist, you might talk the language of
Where
economy.
The Alinsky guy comes in
Yeah,
and he's
it's
just like, the issue's not the issue. The issue is the revolution.
Exactly.
You know, so really these aren't even Trojan horses at this point. This is just, we should all know by now,
Sowing
especially
discord.
as just an American, as an informed citizen, mostly probably those who are conservative, and there are some that are liberal that are turning to this too. We just saw with Anna, was it Caspian? Is that her name?
Kasparian.
Kasparian, yeah, her and Bill Maher and others are.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're fully on the train of America First, but like we're not even on the America First thing. We're on the America constitutional America. That's what we want, on that front. But you're seeing liberals even turn and saying this is bonkers, dude. What's going on here? Like there's no soundness to what's going on right now. You've got politicians actually being turned on by their own people. I just saw a video of AOC getting cornered by a bunch of people, and she's walking. And they're like, "You haven't condemned the attacks, of the Israelis." And she's like,
Right.
"Yes, I did. You're gonna edit this and turn it what you want to." Now they're turning on their own politicians. You
Yeah.
saw Ilhan Omar's daughter now is homeless, I guess. Like there's so many things.
Whoa, I didn't know
Yeah,
about
there's this
that.
crazy stuff that's like happening, and I think it's coming to a head where
Yeah.
if you can't see as a Christian, one, that God is still the same God that he was yesterday and he is today and he is forever, that God is sending a derision in their camp. He's sending confusions in their camp. Now, what does that mean for the conservative or the Christian? Let's say for the Christian right now, you have to be careful you're not caught up in the same derision and division. You have to be careful you're not caught up in the same confusion. What happens is if we're not following righteously the things of God, he will defend those who are his remnant, but he won't. He will allow you to eat the fruit of your own ways, right? So you have to be careful. But what we're seeing here's just one example. There's a NYU protester has gone viral, and this is really good because he was building the case, but I think this is perfect. Went viral when she didn't even know what she was protesting. The videographer asked one of the protesters, "What would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?" She responds, "I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops." I honestly don't know all of what NYU is doing, she says. And then the student asks her friend, "Do you know what they're doing?" Because you can see the clock turning, right? I'm just like,
It's the Apple wheel.
where's
going.
the Jeopardy music, right? And then to which the other masked student responded, "I wish I was more educated." And then the one lady responded again, who the original question went to. She said, "I'm not either." The first protester that admits, claiming that she's from Columbia University after she was told to. One of the things that Mike pointed out yesterday, and I've known this for a while, but like it just kind of hits, you know how like things hit you like a ton of bricks, where it's like, okay, it's not a BLM thing anymore. It's not anything that we could say, okay, I could see why they're doing it. This is American students protesting for another nation when their own nation is dying.
Right.
And if we're not willing to say that, what we're saying is you're wrong for having an opinion. No, they have an opinion, but you got to bring them back home and say, what's happening in your cities, kids?
Right.
You know what
Why
I mean?
don't you care about that?
Yeah, dude. Look, we got a Congress flying Ukraine flags in Senate chambers, right? You have this phenomenon happening, which we're supposed to protect ourselves from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And now we're cheering another nation. Imagine if conservatives flew American flags. What would the left say?
Oh man, they would be beside themselves.
Beside themselves, because we can't do that
It's
because
a
that's
racist flag.
that's
It's-
supremacy.
Yeah, it's a colonialist flag.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And so we're giving money to another nation or other nations for that man. I pulled up a list of
Oh, dude.
what we give and what we borrow to give. It is so ridiculous.
In just this last bill, it was what, 95 billion
yeah.
to Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine.
And Taiwan got a little sliver. Israel got a little bit, which again, constitutionally, I'm not for us
No.
giving money to nations.
No.
I don't care if it's Israel or not. That is not what we're supposed. Christians, listen to me. Constitutionally, we as a nation are not supposed to do that. We are, as people, are supposed to do that. We're supposed to help them, not the nation. Constitutionally, that's not what they're called to do. I love Washington's foreign policy of get away from foreign entanglements. Jefferson had the same view, get away
Yeah.
from foreign entanglements. Why? Because it pulls you into conflicts you don't need to be involved in. Now, if your people want to do it, great. That's on the people, which the people have the rule over the government anyways, right?
Right.
So you're seeing this whole mess happening, and now we're giving money to Ukraine, and nobody on the left or the right can tell me what the heck we're doing there. Nobody. What are
Right.
we doing? What are we doing? What are we giving money for?
To blow up people.
That's right. Building their ammunitions and their munitions bases? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Building up a whole NATO thing? Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing all that happen right now. What's bothering me about these protests, though, is I'm seeing a bunch of kids who don't even know their own history, but all of a sudden know the history of Palestine and Israel and how the whole thing was happening, and that there's problems in the Gaza Strip and how Israel now is attacking innocent civilians, and they never bring up August 7th. And then you see where all of a sudden it's been centuries and apartheid and all this other stuff, and it's like they couldn't even tell you who Roger Sherman is.
Yeah.
They couldn't even tell you who Albert Jerry is. They couldn't tell you who James Otis is. They couldn't tell you none of those names. John Dickinson. I was just talking about him last night with a friend. John Dickinson is so underheralded. Roger Sherman, so
Yes.
underheralded.
It's frustrating.
And it is frustrating. And we have this beautiful history of ups and downs and sins and vices. And we have the beautiful redemption of Christ in it all. Like this redemption of our society. And we don't even talk about it. We don't even know it. We think the greatest president since sliced bread was Abraham Lincoln, when you have a whole lineage of presidents that have done so much for this nation in history, and some that have done terrible, right?
Right.
But yet we have these students that go to these elite colleges and they can't even tell you why they're protesting.
Right. And
That's where I'm frustrated.
no, I'm with you, because what happens with these college students, everybody else is getting invested in this protest, right? Hey, we're going to go protest because Israel's killing a bunch of Palestinians. Truly what they end up hearing, right? Israel's kept Palestine down. Israel's oppressing. And of course, the language of colonialism, oppression, power dynamics, that language gets used. And these college students, what do you think they've heard for the past 4 years in their college
more.
education? Well, and plus their high school and middle school education at this point. That's all they hear is power dynamics, right? So then they get to the point where they hear a struggle of power dynamics. And of course, Hamas and the Palestinians are always sold as the underdog. Israel's sold as the big, powerful, colonialist, tyrannical power. So of course, they're going to protest against it. Most of these college students do not know a lick about global politics or history, right? So they go out and they're like, well, I'm going to do something for the world. I'm going to hold my sign and I'm going to cheer, right? There are people moving about these crowds that are organizers that know what they're doing.
That's right.
And their goal is not Palestine.
No way.
Their goal is, and I hate the cliche of it, but their goal is very much a revolution of a Marxist communist background,
That's right.
right? And so what they do is they get these useful idiots into these ranks and into these protests to grow the numbers. And when something pops off and this college student gets arrested, then they can turn around and say, see, they're oppressing you because all you're doing is making your voice heard. And see, they're evil and they're awful. See, just stick
So-
with us, right?
Yeah. And then, go back to this real quick. Stay on your point. We covered this with Machiavellianism, right?
Yeah.
The useful idiot is the guy who thinks he's doing the king service. And then when he does all the rounding up and exterminating, the king then shoots him and
Yep.
says, there's no one else with the power but me.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they're going to, I'm telling you, just go look at Hitler's history. This is perfect.
Dude,
It's like lockstep, dude.
every communist revolution goes through the same process. You've got the revolutionaries who start the process. They get everything turned over. Somebody consolidates power and then starts offing the people that help them get
That's
there.
exactly right.
Because those people are dangerous.
That's
and
right.
if they don't like you, then they'll start another revolution
That's
against
it.
you.
That's
right?
exactly it.
And Stalin, if you notice, like over the course of years, his group was big, and then people just start disappearing over the years because everybody's getting knocked off.
That's right.
Because, well, kill him.
Yeah.
He's dangerous. Put him in jail. You know.
So it's not only because they're no longer useful to them. It's because they do have some kind of authority and pull and power that they're afraid of. So it's like, you know what? I better get rid of that guy because he could turn on me one day, right?
Right.
They start to wake up and realize. Now, if you think about just history in general, just overall history, it's always been this, what you just said, oppressive haves and have-nots. And this has been documented for centuries, right? That's how you get a government to move against its own people, right? So if you think about what's going on in elementary schools, I'm kind of pivoting right now. This whole drag queen story hour stuff, and it's always about, we're not free, nobody cares about us, we're oppressed, right? It's not really about the sexual revolution at this point. That weakens people. It's that idea of oppression.
Yes.
It's that idea
So good.
constantly of oppression. It's that idea, and Christianity's now kind of fallen into this, like, you're always going to be a sinner. You're always going to be in the flesh. You're always going to be human. You know what? You're always going to screw up. And I was just using this analogy last night, and I'll probably preach on it one day, that if we're true Christians, we're going to go in the trench with our brother, but we're not going to leave him in the trench.
Right.
What's the point of me going on in the trench with my brother and say, I love you, bro, but we're in the trench together? No. My job is to pull him out of the trench.
Right.
I'm going into the pit to get him out, not to leave him in the pit. The problem with this oppressive teaching and oppression, you ever notice they don't give you the answer of what the answer really is?
No, heck no.
What's the solution?
Right.
They won't tell you. You know what they really want? Government takeover. They want government to become a socialist government, a socialist ideology. They want Marxism. They want control. Because do you think government cares about the gay drag, the LGBTQ? They don't care about these college kids being pro-Palestine or not. They don't care about the BLM. They don't care. They care
It's
about
useful.
control.
It's useful.
They
to
care about control. It's totalitarianism. And you know what's going to happen? Government's going to come with an answer. First, they're going to feed them. That's what they're going to do. And that's what's happening now. It's why they're going out and protesting. I promise you, if we pull the curtain behind,
Oh yeah,
they're getting paid.
There's a lot of evidence of them getting paid, and there's accounts of like prepaid cards getting handed out, and then money getting put on those cards every day. You know, and that was especially true in 2020. Of hey, here's $150 a day to go cause havoc. You know, and to your point, you know, there seems to be a lot of connection between this A15, April 15th Day of Action stuff, and organizations like the Tide Center and Foundation, which is also funded by Open Society Foundation and other George Soros organizations. Now, I don't like running down the George Soros train because, okay, we get it, right? And the guy has been accused of having connection to color revolutions all around the world, right? And it's just interesting if you look at this process and what we saw in 2020, this is not a one-off natural flow of passion and energy in support of Palestine. The vast majority of these people
Right.
didn't even know Palestine existed 3 years ago.
Right.
But now all of a sudden there's this, it's popping up everywhere. It seems to be coordinated. There's an MO to the whole thing. There's a process. Somebody's pulling strings, and not
Right.
just one person, right?
100%.
There is a goal and an agenda. And just to kind of prove that more, the UN Division for Palestinian Rights NGO Action News provided links to ways people could get involved in the A15 Day of Action. This included the page that we showed you earlier, the A15 page. So now you're seeing links between the UN NGOs and these days of action trying to create economic havoc, right? So you start, and I'm not trying to draw the string map,
yeah.
you know, but you start drawing connections. You got the Tides Foundation that's implicated in all of this, the Open Foundation. You've got George Soros, you've got the UN, right? There seems to be a trail that it's not just a one-off, and it's a revolution that is happening right before your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And chime in.
Yeah.
And we've got to bring it back to the Christian, and I think
we
it's
do.
really important we do
I think-
because one of the issues with people is they'll get very in the weeds on all of this.
They
and,
can, yeah.
And I try not to get in the weeds, but people will. And then they're off to the races, off all in this la la land, and it's like, what are you actually going to do about it, though?
Right.
You know.
The cool thing about truth and knowing history is you can see it for what it is, remain on the outside of it, and attack things head on that you need to attack as far as ideologically. You know, one of the things I said earlier was, and let me clarify, protests are American. It's just been American since day one. However, when you're blocking off Israelis, when you're destroying property, when you're doing all those things, dude, you know what the college is? If they were really not biased, because they say they're not biased, if they were not biased, they'd be expelling kids for just skipping class.
Yeah.
You don't want to be here? We have standards, dude. Get out. That's what non-bias means. You want to go protest? Go do it on someone else's campus. You want to take over our yard? Not here. This is a college. This is a place of learning. It's an institution of learning. This isn't government. Go redress the government. Go stand at the White House and protest.
On your own time.
Yeah. Don't do it here. Right? Same thing with work and jobs. I'm not allowing you to work in my place of establishment if you want to go. Get out of here. I have a right to protest. Yes, you do. Not on my dime. Not on my dime.
You have all the time in the world to go protest because you're fired.
You're fired. See, and that's that thing. It's like when you know truth like that, it's like this makes so much sense.
Right.
But when you have Harvard and all these other people in the bag of the liberal agenda, right? We even wrote a little bit about here. There's a lot of like rabbit holes that exist, and I think a lot of Christians can sometimes do that. Truth don't let you fall into the rabbit holes. We see it for what it is. That's demonic. It's unspiritual. It's not right. It's ungodly. It's unethical. It's unconstitutional for that matter. All this totalitarian stuff is unconstitutional since the jump, right? The president doesn't have the authority. Anyways, there's just so much in this, right? you put in here, and it's really, really cool what you put. It's not principle that they're after. If they were, they'd care about bodies on both sides, but they don't. You have trans people marching in lockstep with Muslims as though it was a match made in heaven. Nailed it.
Right.
Nailed it. That's what I'm saying. The Muslims don't care about them.
Right.
They've proven that. They've even said it. There was a dude who was like, I can't remember who did the thing, who did the interview, but it was straight up. He's like, yeah, we kill gay people. And he goes, I want Sharia law. Sharia law is discriminatory by nature. It's supposed to be. It's force. And if everybody complied with Sharia law, we'd be at peace. I'm like, well, dang, let's apply that to everything, right? Let me go point a gun at my neighborhood and say, you're going to give, every one of you is going to give me $100 a day.
And then we got peace.
We got peace. If not, I'll blow your whole house up. You know what I mean? That's
peace.
Seriously, if that's how.
Right.
I didn't say I'm blowing up people's houses, weirdos, freaking YouTube.
And what so many of these college students don't realize, because they're kind of the ones we're pointing to show the absurdity of all of this situation. They don't realize a gay person could get thrown off a roof in the Middle East. So what you've now done is you're partnering up with the same people who look at you and say, the only reason I'm not killing you right now is because I don't have the structural authority to do so yet. Right?
Right there.
So
it's right after the trans thing. This is why.
So something doesn't make sense here. So BLM dried up.
I love this. I love what you wrote.
They got taken care of. BLM got taken care of.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
And got exposed for their corruption.
Exactly. All of a sudden, it's lawsuits and investigations of their corruption. Boy, that's funny, because they couldn't seem to do any wrong before that.
Exactly.
So BLM dried up. It's donezo. Yet now you have a fresh movement catching fire across college campuses and in the streets across the world. There's videos coming out of Milan and London. And on that A15 website, they named places around the world that they were going after, right? Watch the videos out of these places. You'll see something is terribly amiss in the West. I believe this movement is well organized, funded, and propped up to help create chaos in the U.S. It's not about Palestine. It's about destroying the old order and building something Marxist in its place. You can guarantee foreign entities are a part of this. Can guarantee China's got some money in this whole thing. You can guarantee Iran has some whole money in this thing, because we did it to everybody else. Look at Arab Spring. We had people on the ground. The new NPR CEO, Catherine Maher, she's kind of made a career out of being a part of color revolutions. Boy, that's funny. How does that work? And she also just happens to have all kinds of connections to big organizations and foundations. Maybe the CIA, you know? And now all of a sudden she's in charge of NPR. And of course, in 2010, and I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but stick with me. In 2010, she wrote a blog talking about how to use radio to take over a country. And now she's in charge of NPR.
Oh, by the way, she was also the chair board of Wikimedia.
Yeah, which controls Wikipedia. That's all. And if we go out and we foment color revolutions in other areas, why for 1 second would we think that it would never happen to us?
That's exactly right.
And some people are pointing out, and this is pretty good, the CIA really cut its teeth in the mission of overturning governments.
Right.
Where do we get off thinking that the CIA would never do that here?
Right. They've learned how to do it.
They have perfected the job, and they wouldn't ever turn that in on us?
And this should actually, if you're a Christian conservative, if you follow like governments, not politics, but governments, this should actually excite you in one way. They're actually proving to you that the power is in the people's hands, that it's the people that are doing what governments should be doing. In other words, they can't coordinate the governments to do it because people aren't easily gullible. So it shows they have to deceive the people in order for them to do their government thing. Turn that to us. It is the people. The power is inherently in the people. We delegate authority to the government by the people, right? They derive the just powers, according to our declaration, from the consent of the government, which, number one, I've never consented to paying taxes. I was just born into it. I never consented to have a Social Security number. I was born into it. All these things, right?
Yeah.
I never consented to half the crap we're doing in our nation, if not 3/4. But nonetheless, I live in this country. If you think that our involvement globally was to keep the peace, no, it was actually training grounds to try to take over the greatest economy in the world, which is America. We are dude, we're banging it right now. Yeah. Was it? Our GDP's at like 29 trillion. It's insane right now, dude. Like, it's crazy. 28 trillion, something like that. Like, our GDP is crushing it, yet our adversaries are growing by the day because what they're trying to do is blow it up from the inside out. Any major revolutionary knows that. That's why they have to organize the people. Even revolutionaries know that the power's in the people. That's why they swindle them, organize them, and send them.
Right. Because if there wasn't power in the people, they would have no care about the movement of the people. But the people are the power, right? And I think conservatives tend to take a very ignorant view of the power of people, right? We watch something like J6 and we go, see, the government's going to crush. But you see these Palestinian protests by themselves, one off, it doesn't do much. But you carry this over a summer, you start to do damage. You start to change things. You change the mindset of the people.
Yep. You change perceptions. You change church leaders.
Yep.
Because church leaders, if they're ignorant and they're wishy-washy and they're not prayed up and not fighting in the spirit, they're going to fall into, well, we need to now have coordinated talks about how Israel and Palestine, we support Israel, but we love Palestine, and they're going to be catering. Dude, I'm telling you, it is like coordinated so well that they know that leaders, people that are recognized leaders, have to fall in line with it too.
Yeah.
That's why Margaret Sanger went after church leaders. You know what I mean?
Just what I was going to say. Yep. Yeah. Sanger. And even the Marxist movement, Gramsci especially, they knew leaders, especially in the churches, the institutions, right?
Right.
You know, the clergy, the professors, the judges. You had to get the leaders in the institutions, and people will follow those leaders.
Bingo.
And so that's why it's so important for Christian leaders, especially, to stand up against all of this mess, this
and hold
nasty mess, and hold the line of what is Christ-like, what is called for us to do.
Right. What's Christian virtue? Right. That statement of love your neighbor as yourself in this society is so seditious in a sense that it's so unique that we're called to love these Palestine protesters.
Yeah.
We're called to love them to the truth, by the way. We're called to love the liberal. We're called to love those who hate us and persecute us and try to destroy us. We're called to love them, right? it's so funny that January 6th has been blown up to this thing that tried to overthrow government. But these protests over the last 4 years have done more damage to our infrastructure than January 6th ever could. All that proves is the elites are untouchable. And I think that's why these protesters, these organizers, go after the people because of their distrust in government.
Yeah.
They don't trust this. It's so funny because they're turning on Biden too, because he won't come out and support Palestine, right? So now even these revolutionaries are going against their own, right? They're coming against Biden and Kamala and all these guys.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do. I'm telling you, dude, it's confusion. And if we don't watch it, and if we're going to fall into it, dude, we're going to fall into the same despotism that they're wanting us to fall into. We have to hold the line. I believe there's way more Americans that are on board with conservative, true Christian values, good Christian ethics and virtue that won't fall into this mess. They just need someone to walk courageously in it, you know?
Yeah,
and there are plenty of leaders that will.
Right.
So praise God, because we're in the midst of them, you know?
Amen. So I think we're probably good.
Yeah, don't fall into the line. What would be the answer here, Mike? Don't fall into the line of the... Don't get distracted by the protest. That's just another thing that they're trying to do. Now, you said in here, you don't believe it's just a distraction. It's actually a coordinated effort. I agree with that, right? But don't get distracted by what they're doing. Go after their souls. Change them from the inside out. Because they're trying to label you everything. The only label I have is Jesus, bro. It's all I got, right? And so it's Christ and the Holy Spirit. This is the other problem of not understanding supernatural things. We don't believe the Holy Spirit can still move like that and change Saul to a Paul. And we need to have that kind of faith.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a lack of faith that God can actually transform people. It's like, oh, well, they're Antifa, they're progressive, they're never going to accept God, so not even try. And
Right.
those, a lot of times, those are the people that are closest to it
right.
because
Look at
they've seen it all.
in
you know?
Acts, man, when Stephen was being stoned, right? Even he had the Christian ethic, fortitude, I guess, the Spirit of the Lord to say, Lord, don't lay it to their charge. That's
heavy.
That's a love. I'm like, wow. Like, because I don't know how I would react if someone's actively killing me.
I have a feeling how I would react, and it's not like that.
Yeah, we need Jesus, y'all. We need more Christ. So go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Find out more about what we're doing. I hope this podcast blesses you. I pray that you guys share it. We wanted to get out there to more people. So thank you for all of you who comment, all of you who are dissenters. We love you anyway. It's totally cool. We read your comments. We go through them all the time. We don't answer some of them because you just want to pick a fight. We're not about that. We're about true, actual discourse, and we love that. So again, if you haven't subscribed yet, go subscribe to our channels. We got a lot more content coming out that's coming up soon. And again, thank you to all of you who support us. You can be a torchbearer by going onto theselfevidenttruth.com. Also, just donate, one-time donations. Business owners, you can help sponsor the podcast, which is great, which again, Energy Ops rocks. South Carolina, Michael's the best, man.
Dude, my bedroom and my kitchen look amazing.
Yeah, so do mine,
now, dude.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's just the best. So thank you again, all of you, for watching. God bless you. We will see you Monday.
Love you.